Your potato salad poisoned everyone. Amanda's voice echoed across the park pavilion, her perfectly manicured finger pointing accusingly at me. You've ruined everything, as usual. The family gathering fell silent, all eyes turning to watch the drama unfold. I stood there stunned, holding my 4-year-old daughter Emma's hand while my 6-year-old son Jacob clutched my leg. My name is Sarah Mitchell, and for the past 8 years, I've endured my sister-in-law Amanda's attempts to exclude me from family events, but this time she'd gone too far. The annual Mitchell family picnic had been a tradition for decades. Every summer, we gather at Oakwood Park, sharing food, stories, and making memories. I had spent hours perfecting my mother's potato salad recipe, the same one she'd made for these picnics before she passed away. Now, according to Amanda, that very dish had allegedly made half the family sick. I saw her cooler sitting out all morning. Amanda continued, her voice dripping with fake concern. She probably did it on purpose, trying to get attention as usual. My brother-in-law Tom, Amanda's husband, stood behind her, nodding along while their children, pristinely dressed despite the casual setting, smirked. My husband Mike stepped forward, his face red with anger. Amanda, that's enough. Sarah's potato salad was in our cooler, which was under the pavilion all morning. No, it wasn't, Amanda insisted, her eyes gleaming with satisfaction. I saw it in the sun, right by the parking lot. Ask anyone. Before Mike could respond, a tall figure in a park ranger uniform approached our group. Excuse me, she said, her voice carrying authority. Is there a problem here? Amanda immediately switched to her sweet victim voice. Oh, Ranger Davis. Yes, several people have gotten sick from the food at our family picnic. We've identified the source, my sister-in-law's potato salad. Ranger Davis's expression remained neutral as she pulled out her notepad. That's interesting because I've been watching the situation unfold all morning. Around 8 a.m., I observed a woman in a pink sundress moving a blue cooler from under this pavilion to the parking lot area. She left it there for approximately 3 hours. Amanda's face paled slightly. She was wearing a pink sundress. I have photos, Ranger Davis continued, as part of our routine security monitoring. Would you like to see them? The silence that followed was deafening. Several family members turned to stare at Amanda, their expressions shifting from concern to suspicion. I was just trying to make more room under the pavilion, Amanda stammered, but her excuse sounded hollow even to her own ears. My mother-in-law, Martha, who had been sitting quietly until now, stood up shakily. Amanda, tell me you didn't deliberately leave Sarah's food in the sun to spoil. Of course not, Amanda protested, but her voice cracked. I was organizing things, that's all. It's not my fault if her food made people sick. Actually, Ranger Davis interjected. I have time-stamped photos showing the cooler being moved multiple times. Each time it was returned to the shade, someone in a pink dress would move it back into the sun. This occurred 4 separate times. The collective gasp from the family made Amanda take a step back. Her perfect facade was cracking, and for the first time since I'd known her, she seemed at a loss for words. Emma tugged at my hand. Mommy, why did Aunt Amanda want to make your food bad? Her innocent question hung in the air, making the situation even more uncomfortable. I squeezed her hand gently, trying to figure out how to explain adult pettiness to a child. I think, my father-in-law George said slowly, rising from his chair, we need to hear the truth, Amanda. Right now. Amanda's eyes darted around the pavilion, looking for support but finding none. Even Tom had taken a step back from her, his face showing confusion and embarrassment. You don't understand, she finally burst out, her carefully maintained composure shattering. Every year, everyone raves about Sarah's potato salad. Just like moms, they say. Nobody makes it quite like Sarah. What about my contributions, my imported cheese platters, my catered desserts? The pettiness of her explanation made several people shake their heads in disbelief. Martha covered her face with her hands, while George's expression hardened. So you deliberately sabotaged Sarah's food, Mike said, his voice tight with anger, and then tried to blame her when people got sick. Do you realize how dangerous that could have been? There are children here, Amanda. Elderly people. What were you thinking? Ranger Davis cleared her throat. Given the intentional nature of this incident and the potential health risks involved, I'll need to file a report. Would anyone who consumed the compromised food please come with me? We'll need statements for our documentation. As several family members followed the ranger, I stood there, processing what had just happened. Years of snide comments, subtle exclusions, and accidental oversights had finally led to this. Amanda actively trying to harm people just to make me look bad. The family picnic was effectively over, but something else was ending too: the power Amanda had held over family gatherings through her manipulation and lies. As people packed up their belongings, many stopped to apologize to me, some sharing their own stories of Amanda's past behavior. Martha approached me last, her eyes wet with tears. "Sarah, I'm so sorry. I should have seen this coming. I should have stopped her behavior years ago." I hugged my mother-in-law, understanding that she too had been manipulated by Amanda's careful facade. "It's not your fault," I assured her. "But things will be different now." As we packed up our car, I watched Amanda and Tom leave the park, their perfect family image now tarnished by the truth. Emma helped me carefully pack away my potato salad container, still half full since no one had actually eaten from it. Amanda's plan had failed before it even started. "Next year," Mike said quietly, squeezing my shoulder, "we'll have the picnic at our house. No more politics, no more drama." I nodded, realizing that sometimes it takes a dramatic event to clear the air and reveal people's true colors. Amanda had finally overplayed her hand, and in doing so, she had lost the very thing she craved most: control over the family's perceptions. The fallout from the picnic incident spread through the family like wildfire. Over the next few weeks, more stories about Amanda's manipulations began to surface as relatives finally felt free to speak up. My phone buzzed with a text from Cousin Beth. "Remember last Christmas when Amanda claimed your kids broke her expensive vase? My daughter saw her knock it over herself and blamed Jacob." Similar revelations kept coming. Aunt Susan admitted that Amanda had told her my family couldn't attend her anniversary party because we had COVID, a complete lie. Uncle Peter revealed that Amanda had convinced him not to hire my catering service for his daughter's graduation, claiming we had given people food poisoning at another event. One evening, while Mike and I were putting the kids to bed, Martha called in tears. "Sarah, I need to tell you something," she said, her voice shaking. "I've been going through old emails, and I found messages from Amanda. She's been intercepting party invitations, changing dates and times before forwarding them to you." I sat down on our bedroom chair, processing this new information. That explains why we always seem to show up at the wrong time or miss events entirely. "There's more," Martha continued. "She's been telling everyone that you deliberately exclude yourself from family gatherings because you think you're better than us." Sarah, I feel horrible for believing her. Mike, seeing my expression, took the phone. "Mom, it's not your fault. Amanda's been manipulating everyone for years." After the call, Mike held me as I finally let myself cry. Not from sadness, but from relief. Years of feeling like an outsider, of wondering why we always seem to miss the mark with family events. It all made sense now. The next morning, while I was helping Emma with her breakfast, our doorbell rang. It was Tom, Amanda's husband, looking uncomfortable in his business suit. "Can we talk?" he asked, shifting from foot to foot. I let him in, curious about what brought him to our house so early. The kids were excited to see their uncle, but I sent them to play in the living room while Tom and I sat at the kitchen table. "Amanda's not doing well," he started, staring into the coffee I'd offered him. "The park ranger's report went to her employer. She's been suspended from her job at the children's hospital. They take food tampering very seriously." "I would hope so," I replied, keeping my voice neutral. "She could have seriously hurt someone." Tom ran his hands through his hair, looking suddenly older. I knew she was competitive about family stuff, but this, I never thought she'd go this far. Our kids are asking questions I can't answer. I thought about Tom and Amanda's children, only slightly older than mine. They'd always been taught to look down on their cousins, to maintain their mother's illusion of superiority. "The thing is," Tom continued, "Amanda's been ordered to take counseling sessions. The therapist thinks this goes deeper than just family rivalry. She's always been obsessed with being perfect, with controlling everything. When your potato salad became the family favorite after your mother passed away." He trailed off. "It reminded her she couldn't control everything," I finished for him. Tom nodded. "She's asking to apologize to you, but I wanted to check first. Would you be willing to hear her out?" I stirred my coffee, thinking about it. "Tom, I'd appreciate you coming here, but I need time. This isn't just about the picnic. She's been systematically trying to isolate my family for years. I understand, he said, standing up. For what it's worth, I'm sorry. I should have seen it sooner. After Tom left, I found Mike in his home office, already on a call with Martha. They were discussing the upcoming family reunion, traditionally held at Amanda and Tom's house. We need a new location, Martha was saying. Somewhere neutral. Mike caught my eye. What about the lake house? It's big enough for everyone. The lake house had been my mother's. She left it to Mike and me, but we rarely used it for family events because Amanda had always insisted her house was more suitable. That's perfect, Martha said. A fresh start. Over the next few days, as word spread about the new reunion location, relatives began reaching out. Many offered to help with preparations, sharing stories about how Amanda had discouraged them from visiting the lake house in the past. She told us you didn't want guests there, my cousin Jenny admitted. Said it brought up too many painful memories of your mom. Each revelation reinforced what we now knew. Amanda's manipulation hadn't just affected us. It had reshaped the entire family's dynamics. One afternoon, while sorting through old photos for the reunion, Emma found a picture of Amanda at our wedding. In it, she was scowling at me while everyone else smiled at the camera. "Mommy, why was Aunt Amanda always mad at you?" she asked. I sat with my daughter, choosing my words carefully. Sometimes, honey, people have a hard time seeing past their own feelings. Aunt Amanda was so focused on being the best that she forgot how to be family. Is that why she made your food bad at the picnic? Yes, sweetie, but you know what? Making other people look bad doesn't make you better. It just makes you lonely. Emma thought about this, her small face serious. Like when Lisa at school said my drawing was ugly so everyone would like hers better. Exactly like that, I said, hugging her. But remember how the class ended up liking both drawings once Lisa apologized? Emma nodded. Will Aunt Amanda say sorry too? I looked at the wedding photo, at Amanda's scowl among all the smiles. I hope so, honey. Sometimes it takes people a while to learn these lessons. That evening, as Mike and I prepared dinner, he noticed me looking through more old family photos. What are you thinking? He asked, wrapping his arms around me. About how much time we've lost to Amanda's games, I said. All the family moments that could have been different. Mike kissed the top of my head. Then let's make new memories, better ones. Looking at our kids playing in the backyard, I realized he was right. Amanda's actions had cast a shadow over our family for years, but that shadow was finally lifting. The truth hadn't just exposed her manipulation. It had freed us all to rebuild our relationships without her influence. The real healing was just beginning. The day of the family reunion at the lake house arrived with perfect weather. As I stood on the deck, watching cars pull into the driveway, I felt a mix of emotions. This was the first major family gathering since the picnic incident, and Amanda's presence or absence weighed heavily on everyone's minds. Tom had called earlier in the week to say they would come, but only if I was comfortable with it. Amanda had completed 3 weeks of counseling and wanted to make amends. I agreed, not for her sake, but for the family's healing. Mommy, they're here, Emma called out, pointing to Tom's SUV pulling up. I watched as their car parked, but only Tom and the kids emerged. He caught my eye and shook his head slightly. Amanda had backed out at the last minute. Surprisingly, I felt relieved. The reunion flowed naturally without Amanda's controlling presence. Cousins who hadn't spoken in years chatted freely. Children who had been kept apart played together on the beach. The invisible barrier she had created over the years dissolved in the warm summer air. Martha set up a photo display on one of the tables, family pictures through the years. Looking at them now, Amanda's manipulation was clear in almost every shot, positioning herself at the center, pushing others to the edges, her calculated smiles and orchestrated poses. It's like seeing everything through new eyes, Aunt Susan said, standing beside me. How did we not notice? Because she was careful, I replied. She built her walls slowly, brick by brick. As the afternoon progressed, I overheard Tom's kids talking to Jacob and Emma by the lake. Mom says she's sorry, his daughter Ashley said. She cries a lot now. Dad says she's learning to be better, added her brother, Michael. The children's simple acceptance of the situation struck me. While the adults grappled with years of manipulation and hurt, the kids just wanted their families to be whole again. During dinner, Martha stood up to make an announcement. I want to apologize to everyone, she began, her voice trembling. As the family matriarch, I should have seen what was happening. I should have stopped it, But from now on, this family operates on truth and love, not competition and control. The gathering murmured in agreement. Mike squeezed my hand under the table. As the sun began to set, my phone buzzed with a text from Amanda. "I'm sorry I couldn't come. It was too hard. But I'm glad they're all there. Take care of them." It wasn't the dramatic apology she might have once orchestrated, but its simplicity felt more genuine than any show she could have put on. Later that evening, as families began to leave, the kids collected shells on the beach while the adults cleaned up. Tom helped me pack leftover containers in the kitchen. "She's really trying," he said quietly. "The therapist says she has deep-seated insecurities, probably from her own childhood." Not an excuse, but it helps to understand. I finished for him. "Tell her the door isn't closed, Tom. It's just waiting for her to walk through it honestly." As the last cars pulled away, Mike and I sat on the deck with our sleeping children in our laps, watching the stars reflect on the lake. "Mom would have loved this," Mike said softly. "The family together, really together, without the drama." I thought about my mother-in-law's potato salad recipe, the one that had somehow become the catalyst for all this change. "Sometimes it takes something small to break something big," I mused. "Like a potato salad exposing years of manipulation?" Mike chuckled. "Exactly." The next morning, as we packed up to leave, I found a note slipped under the door. It was from Martha. "Sarah, your mother-in-law wasn't just my best friend, she was my voice of reason. When I lost her, I lost that too. I let Amanda fill that void with her control because it was easier than facing the truth. But watching you stand strong, protect your family, and still leave the door open for forgiveness. That's what Mary would have done. That's the voice of reason this family needs now. Love, Martha." I folded the note carefully and tucked it into my pocket. The lake house had always been more than just a property. It was a repository of family memories. Now it had become something else too, a place of healing, of new beginnings. As we drove home, Emma asked, "Can we have more parties at the lake house, Mommy?" "Of course, sweetie. And will Aunt Amanda come next time?" I caught Mike's eye in the rearview mirror. "When she's ready, honey. When she's ready." Sometimes the biggest victories aren't in winning the battle, but in showing others there doesn't need to be a war at all. Amanda's attempts to control and divide the family had ultimately brought us closer together, strengthening our understanding of what really matters. The potato salad incident, as it came to be known, marked the end of one chapter in our family's story and the beginning of another, one where truth prevailed over manipulation, where genuine relationships mattered more than perfect appearances, and where there was always room at the table for those ready to join with honest hearts.